Live from New York, it's Ask That Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Asking This Engineer, as we do every single Wednesday here at the Adafruit factory. I'm that engineer, Lady Ada.
Yeah.
Still engineering here. With me is Mr. Lady Ada on camera control and
Hello.
basically doing everything except Gerber generation.
Nope.
We are.
I got my Gerber generation license revoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't practice here in New York. Look, mistakes were made.
No Gerbers for you.
Mistakes were made. I'm just going to say this now. We love MOSFET, but if we ever get a cat, I'm calling it now. The cat's name is Gerber's because I've been thinking about this for a long time.
You've been thinking about it? Gerber's is a good name.
Sometimes
when you generate Gerber's, it does say like illegal polygon.
People with
you generated too many illegal polygons?
People with electronics, there's this like arms race who can get the best electronics cat name.
Darlington?
Yeah.
Zener?
Yeah. So I'm just saying.
Gerber's.
Just saying, Gerber's.
We're just calling
registered
it, okay?
with CatCan, international cat domain name.
CatCan. In the future, all cats will come with domain names. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry for that. We apologize.
Yeah.
Those responsible have been sacked. Again, it's me, Lady Ada, the engineer. With me is Mr. Lady Ada on camera control and picking out the cat names. We're broadcasting live from downtown Manhattan in the Adafruit headquarters in West Soho, where we have lots of black boxes behind us and tons of electronics and bubble wrap that we ship to you every single day. I'm sure you're aware of that because you're here. It's Adafruit. Yay! Tonight's show is so awesome. Tell them what's on tonight's show.
On tonight's show, the code is Thermopile, 10% off in the Adafruit store, everything that's in stock except for virtual things like software and gift certificates. That's the only two things. We'll talk about show and tell, jam-packed, action-packed, capacity.
Capacitance?
At capacity.
We're at capacitance.
Yeah. Back to the mailbag, we'll stop by. We'll look at the Adafruit jobs board. Some amazing big breaking news in open source hardware.
Wow, it's so breaking.
Yeah.
You're the first to announce it.
Yeah, you'll only hear this first tonight. Adafruit Learning System, we'll have wrap up of some of the new tutorials and more we just posted. Time Travel Tuesday, we'll look back in the world of makers, hackers, electronics, and more. Wearable electronics, we got a couple cool videos. 3D printing, another big announcement and also a fun video. Raspberry Pi news, which is gonna sort of kind of be about Raspberry Pi, but not really. You'll have to continue to tune in to see why.
Wow.
The new products, we'll answer your questions, we have a trivia question, all that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Yep.
Yeah. So just to pay some bills with your skills, Thermopile is the code.
Yeah, we have thermopiles.
10% off.
We'll be talking about thermopiles.
Yeah. Okay. So first up, Bitcoin, we accept them. It's still working out. We're still doing Bitcoin. No Bitcoin news this week. It's kind of a quiet week. I usually like to add a little Bitcoin segment here. You know, what's the latest new thing?
No, it's totally chilled out.
Yeah.
It's just it's standard now.
Oh, I remember we were discussing one thing.
What?
There is a site that we don't think is going to last too much longer because what they do is they exchange. You can use a credit card to buy Bitcoin, which is kind of a bad scene.
Yeah, no, the Amazon wish list. Yeah, it's kind of
and then
mess.
And then you buy stuff on Amazon. So that was the only news, but it's not. I think it'll probably like tomorrow. It'll be like
they should have just called it embezzlement.io and just gotten it over with.
So that was.
That's not really news.
Yeah. So that's it. Next up, we still have this free thing. We're going to change this soon. So if you've collected a lot of PCB rulers, we're going to have something coming up. But anyways, $200. You get free UPS around the continental U.S. and $100 you get a PCB ruler. One ruler to rule them all. So let's get going on this show. First up is the show and tell every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's now a full house. The show and tell. People. Yeah, the show and tell has.
That's max.
Yeah, 9 people, and then sometimes there's people within the people, and they have multiple people.
Sometimes there's like extra animals and cats.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things. So what was on the show and tell tonight?
Okay, let's go through this quickly. Tony D, who's Adafruit Northwest, came by. He's been working on the AHRS Attitude Heading Reference System tutorial rewrite. We've added another 9DOF sensor that we'll talk about later tonight. And while we were at it, we were like, well, we should add the support for this like twist and motion detection for this lovely new sensor. And meanwhile, he kind of like restructured the library to be a little easier to use and a little more general purpose, so we can adapt it for more sensors, because we're adding so many new sensors that it's like you may want to like swap in one sensor here or one sensor there. So we wanted to like make it all generalized. Anyways, object-oriented programming. Go, Tony. You also had a cat in a box. Noah and Pedro came in and they showed off next week's project, which is a DIY head mount display with sensing and dual material printing, which is kind of interesting. And they said there's a secret to dual material printing, so you can print with 2 materials on one project. So it has like a firm part or a flexi part, or like, you know, one part that's like wood based, one part that's like ceramic based or whatever. Tune in to the show tomorrow for more information about that. They'll be talking about how they designed this DIY head mount display. We'll talk about that also later on in the 3D news. Phil B came in showing off his project. He's been working on a NeoPixel mega curtain. It's like a beaded curtain but made with NeoPixels. It has 1,500 pixels. It is hella bright. And he's wrapping up, and he's doing a great tutorial about it that I'm sure people will love to read. He is master of NeoPixels. Lewis came in with an electronic imp project. He got an electric imp, not electronic imp, which is a SD card, Internet of Things, Wi-Fi adapter doodad. And it has like a back-end cloud system, and he basically made an internet light switch using the electric imp back-end system, and we turned on and off his light, which is pretty cool. Andre designed an airsoft turret that has the sonar detection and can hold 2,500 rounds, and he didn't get to fire it, but he's going to come back next week and he's going to fire it, and it looked epic. Nicholas came in with a GPS pulse per second, which he's comparing to 60 hertz from the wall to try to track whether the pulse per second or the wall power drifts, and they do drift a little bit, and he even graphed the drift, so I thought that was very interesting. And he knows all about extremely precise timekeeping now, so will you if you watch this segment. Logan and his 2 friends built a Raspberry Pi arcade over the summer. They used a Teensy to help get the keyboard data into the Raspberry Pi. They made a wooden box. They got a free CRT monitor, so it even has that like rounded monitor look. And they love playing Dig Dug, and they have like MAME Plan and Pi arcades, and it's all good stuff. Trixie Bella has an electric violin that has been modified with an Uno and like a spectrum analysis shield to pulse an LED whenever the violin plays music. So I guess it detects the tone and volume of the violin and plus pulses the LEDs. Check that out, especially if you like to do musical analysis. A lot of people are always doing just the spectrum analysis and like making LEDs that react to music. So this is a good one to look if you're interested in that. And Bao Bao has a software project who had no mic, but will show up next week.
Yeah. That's next week. Okay.
That's all that showed up.
All right, that was Show and Tell. All participants on the Show and Tell get an As Seen on the Show and Tell sticker. We actually send you one in the mail. Lady Ada, how do people get on the Show and Tell? Because now everyone wants to be on the Show and Tell. Now that you've heard this, how can you not?
No, this is fun. If you want to get on the Show and Tell so you can show off your project every single week, you can go to the Show and Tell Circle, first you have to have a Google Plus account, and then you don't just make one now. You don't even need a real name to make a Google Plus account anymore, so you can make as many as you want, really.
That's right.
And then comment on the Show and Tell Circle thread that we make every week. So go to our Google Plus page at plus.google.com/plus_Adafruit, and look for the thread where we say comment here again, Show and Tell Circle. Once you comment, we can then add you to the circle, and then you will join the 400 fun and interesting people who show off their NeoPixel-based violins and curtains and airsoft turrets and cats in boxes and other fun stuff every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. We broadcast from here, but you can broadcast from your kitchen.
Yeah. Okay. Next, mailbag. Back to mailbag. These are emails, letters, and all sorts of things that all you folks send us. Thank you. We really like these. Mm-hmm. We work really hard, and when we get nice emails from you guys, we share them. It does. Here's this one. This was a personalized one.
Okay.
Yeah. This one, sometimes when someone has a great experience or something that's worked out really well for them, okay, they'll call the team out by name.
Yeah.
So this is one. This one goes out to Matt. Okay. I would just like to send a compliment and thank you to Matt of Adafruit for excellent customer service this afternoon. He was professional, polite, and verifying my shipping address, and went above and beyond helping me correct a small mistake on my order. I'm happy to be treated so well. I'm anxiously awaiting delivery of my new electronic toys. Matt, thanks again for excellent customer service. I appreciate it. All the way up here in Montreal. Thanks again, John Paul. It's a big deal.
Go, Matt.
Yeah. It's fun with helping people. You don't normally get the good things. You only hear the bad things.
True.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's funny since being on the other side, answering, like until recently I answered all the customer emails. I still answer a lot. But until recently, now we have a team that helps us do it. It made me think about, like, when something's good, when I have a good customer experience, I say, hey, who can I send an email to? And they're like, oh my God, are you kidding? And I'm like, yeah, like just
it's rare. It's rare to be rewarded or to see people rewarded for a good customer service. It's usually if it's good customer service, it's just like expected. Yeah. And then
no, I think bad customer service is expected. Like people it's adversarial from the start because it's so bad out there.
No, they come in expecting it to be bad. So when it's good, they just kind of move on to the next thing. So yeah.
All right.
But we do get lots of really great emails. We get at least one a week. Yeah. And you said that you get like multiple ones.
Yeah, we get at least a couple a day that are very complimentary.
Yeah.
Most of them, to be fair, and kudos to you, is people are thanking you for a tutorial or a guide or something. Oh,
that's nice.
And all the team that works on the learning system. Well, if you teach someone something that's really difficult, they want to do something, usually build something, but they're like, I gotta do something, so they say thanks. On this week's blog, all this month too, it's back to school time. So if you are an educator or if you're a student or if you're anyone and you're going back to school, if you wanted to see all the stuff that we're suggesting for back to school stuff, it's not even just Adafruit stuff, it's just lots of stuff. You can check out the site. Pound back to school on the site. Next up. Did you know Adafruit has one of the best and only jobs boards for makers and for companies that want to have makers?
That's right.
So this was an experiment. We have a few anniversaries that we'll talk about. So Wearable Electronics with Becky Stern's a year old.
Wow.
Ask an Engineer is going to be 5 years old in a couple weeks.
Oh my God.
Show and Tell, it's a couple years old, but I don't know exactly when it started. And then Jobs Board, I think, might be coming up on
2 or 3 years.
A couple of years.
Must be 3 years.
Yeah, and the experiment...
Because it was on the old ZenCard site.
Yeah, and the experiment was, what if we had a Jobs Board that was just for companies like us who we'd want to find makers that we'd maybe want to hire. And then what if there was a jobs board for makers who want to work for a company like Adafruit?
Yeah, or the many other open source hardware or makerly companies.
And so we started with that, and the idea was no recruiters or no anything. So still to this day, we approve each job, and it's only or each maker saying, here's my skill set. Like I'm an engineer and I want to work for a cool company in biohacking or whatever. And so it's really worked out well. We've played matchmaker. Lots of big, high-profile companies have got people. So this
we have some like big companies too, not just small ones, but like also small ones.
So I still look at each one and approve them. Sometimes I ask them to update the description to be a little bit better or something. This one was great. This one came this week. If you want to be a product engineer at
BioLite.
So this is that company. It's really neat. It's the stove thing that when it heats up, it charges things over USB.
Yeah, it's a camping stove that, just outdoor stove that can also generate electricity. It's an interesting idea, and actually, apparently did a very good job of it.
BioLite is a for-profit social enterprise that develops, manufactures, and markets distributed energy solutions for off-grid communities around the world. They have a clean-burning biomass cook stove capable of converting waste heat into electricity to charge electronic devices. This is a cool company because it's not only a company, it has a business, but they're a cause. Okay. So if you're an engineer and you're like, you know what, like, I'm done working for the giant company and I'm fine, I want to like go on to the next challenge, or if you're just like, hey, I want to try something new, this is one for you.
I know they were in Brooklyn. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that's Jobs Board. In for Jobs Board. Okay, this is big news that everyone's waiting for.
Oh, yeah.
Open source hardware news.
Okay.
All right, so right before we got on air, we got an email from Ken Gracie of Parallax, and the big news is...
Just for immediate release.
Yeah, the big news is, he said, I want to get this to you first. We like Ken, we like Parallax. He sent this to us. Maybe he knew we were going to read it on the show, but if you're a fan of open source hardware, one of the things that everyone always says is, man, if there was only an open source processor, because all you guys do in open source hardware, you're clowns. There's no open source hardware processor.
They say like, oh well, the software's open source and maybe the firmware is open source, the BIOS is open source, but the chip isn't.
The chip's not. So you guys,
so that's all bullshit.
Are just yeah. So
not
now
anymore.
So now not anymore. Here's the big news. This just hit our inbox. The Propeller One is now open source hardware.
And this is actually not a Propeller. This is the DEO Nano, which actually we carry. It's a really great FPGA dev board. Yeah. And that's what they developed the Propeller One on. And so this actually, the Propeller One Verilog files run on an FPGA. So they have it, the target is for the DEO Nano because it's like a low-cost popular one. But you can now actually see how the processor is designed, design your own processor, and modify the design and have it run on an FPGA. So it's a 8-core, it's a multi-core processor that has built-in like video generation. It's one of the neat things about it. It has like shared memory and also not so shared memory. And they're working on the Propeller 2, but as they're going towards manufacture the Propeller 2, they are releasing the Propeller 1 under a GPL license. And what's interesting is, it is much easier legally to release a chip as open source hardware than circuit board layout.
Yeah, it is.
Circuit board layouts have almost no protections.
Yeah.
The schematic has no protection, only the drawing of the schematic, which if you redraw it, it just like doesn't count. And then the layout may have protections, but then you can always reverse engineer. It actually has there's patent protection for both chips and layouts, but there's no like copyright protection. And even patent protection is kind of difficult for most things. I mean, you'd have to fight to get a patent for it. But for this, because the Verilog is actually code, it's extremely easy to release under a GPL license because there's copyright. So it's very interesting. This is one of the first modern chips that I've heard of that's actually been open source. I don't know of it. I mean, there's 8051 cores and other core things, and there's been simulations of emulations of chips. But this is the first time I've heard of, I think, a chip that has actually been completely open source. Like that's actually on the market. Like you can buy a Propeller One, or you can completely simulate a Propeller One as well.
Yeah, and I think
so
they did this. DEF CON. Yeah, and they did, I believe, GPL 3.
Yeah, GPL 3. So it's actually so if anyone modifies the chip, then they can contribute back to the development of the Propeller 1 or Propeller 2.
Yeah.
Very cool stuff.
So you heard it here first. This is breaking news in the world of open source hardware. Mm-hmm. One of the big goals and one of the things that everyone always said, it'd be great if there was a chip. Now there is. So ain't no excuses, folks. You could do a fully open source hardware project all the way down to the chip.
To the chip. And hopefully this will inspire other companies to release files of maybe even discontinued chip, like Atmel. I'm not expecting Atmel to release their latest, at-SAM processor, but wouldn't it be cool if like the AT902313, like the classic chip that they first started with?
Is that if you had a magic open source hardware wand, what chip would you want to see open sourced?
From Atmel?
Anyone.
I think actually that the PIC16F84 would be really interesting because it's such a classic chip that like almost everyone's used.
You'd want to see that
as microprocessor. I mean, like it'd be. I know that there's been reverse engineering attempts on like the Motorola 68000 series and the Intel 8088. But I don't believe they were ever released in any useful. I mean, they've been emulated, but I don't believe that the original files were released. It'd be cool to see those released.
Okay, so who owns that right now?
Motorola or Intel. I mean, or PIC or yeah. Microchip.
Okay. There's probably some of those engineers watching.
Yeah, I mean, if the chip's been discontinued, there's no reason not to. I mean, it's like there's no. The 68,000 it's useless. I mean, it's not useless, but it's not of any professional risk to release it.
I wrote an article on Make a long time ago. If you discontinue something or kill it off, why not open source it?
Yeah, I agree.
This might be one. Or if you make a computer like Deep Blue, eventually, say just promise 10 years later you'll publish everything about it, because it won't matter.
And I think I know that there's versions of all these chips people have made equivalent versions. It's not that hard to make an equivalent version of like an 8088 or 68000 at this point, or an 8051. But it would be neat to see the originals. Like I'm sure that they have original VHDL or Verilog files. I would like to see that. That would be useful, because it shows you how. It's not like rewriting the code. You want to see how they designed it.
It'd be neat if there was a Silicon Valley group that came out of all the people who made chips for all these years, and they made an archive.org type thing. And they all said, you know what, let's put all of the files, all the source, everything about these old chips that are done, but let's put it in one spot so everyone can learn from it. That'd be a nice thing. That would
be really nice, especially if it was possible to simulate these on FPGA. So it's like there's emulation, but emulation is never quite perfect. Yeah. There's always something about it that's a little bit off.
Okay.
We talked to Jerry about simulating the Commodore 64, and she said there's cycle time based. Even if you emulate it, you can't, because there's all these tricks that they did with their bugs or tweaks or tricks.
The physical world changes things.
Yeah, the actual chipset, or you take advantage of the fact that the gate had this much capacitance on it to use it as a timing element. So
Okay. Well, the other thing is, folks, email Parallax. Tell them thanks, good job.
Yeah.
They'd probably want an email. Maybe they'll start a little mailbag.
Yeah, we should have a little mailbag.
I'm Pack at the Chip mailbag. Okay. All right. Let's keep moving on. So that was breaking news.
Okay.
Now we're in news program. Okay.
All right.
Next up. The Adafruit Learning System, over 550 tutorials, I believe.
Really?
Right now.
We got to 550? Okay,
I think we're up to 550-ish.
I have to get up to, I remember we hit 512. I have to get to 600 next.
Okay, the first one, I will talk about this. This is a video that we're going to show shortly. It is the guide for the Close Encounters hat. This is in conjunction with the Hats Off contest that we're doing with Element 14. Becky and Leslie are doing this cool project. This hat plays the Close Encounters theme.
And it has a little LED.
Yeah, and it lights up. Very cool. Okay,
cute.
So we'll show you the video for that in a minute. Next up, this is from today's video. This is Flora sensors. All of the sensors. We went over this today in the Wearable Electronics Show, but if you want to see the video or look at the learning guide.
All the sensors.
Yeah. We had this interesting idea. Well, there's so many, this is so sensitive. You can make like a sensor ball and it just senses everything.
This is a total, all the sensors.
Yeah, so this is the Flora and all the different sensors.
Yeah, this is the light sensor, compass accelerometer, lux sensor, UV sensor, color sensor, and then the 9DOF sensor, the new 9DOF sensor.
Yeah. Okay, next up. I'll do this one. This is for all those folks that are tax exempt. So if you're a tax exempt institution in New York and you want to place an order at Adafruit, normally people email us. We have a learning guide. Now they just look at the learning guide. So this tells you how to request.
We have so many schools and governments that buy stuff from us.
In New York, yeah.
Yeah, and in New York, especially in New York.
Yep.
So it's easy, but just follow this one-step process, and you can be tax exempt.
Next up, this is our 3D printing guide. Matt did this one last week. We launched it on Friday. So what we have here is the 3D printers that we sell at Adafruit, and then one that we recently retired, so the Adafruit MakerBot edition. We don't have. I don't think we're going to be. I don't think it's going to be possible. It's not going to be possible to probably make this. And then we had the MakerBot Mini briefly. So we compared the PrinterBot Metal, the LulzBot, the MakerBot Rep 2, and the MakerBot Mini across the board. And we said, well, since most people kind of compare some of these newer kits and the open source LulzBot, to the Rep 2, because the Rep 2 is kind of known. We did the pros and cons and all the things to keep in mind.
Yeah.
And
some have bigger build volume, some are more precise, some are cheaper, but you have to build them yourself. There's pros and cons to everything. There's nothing that's like, wow, this is just the worst. You should definitely not get this.
Yeah. So
there's always like a range.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I kind of issued the challenge a while ago because the TASBot is an open source 3D printer, and you know what? People are buying it.
You said if you guys want open source 3D printers, buy open source 3D printers.
I said,
and people responded.
I said we can stock these if they're purchased. If no one buys these, then people just don't want them. But we keep reordering them, and it's working out. The sales and service on from the TAS folks, the Lulzbot folks, is really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up. This one's all you.
Oh yeah, this is the tutorial for the Flora and breakout version of the LSM9DS0. It's a really cool all-in-one 9-degree of freedom sensor. It has a magnetometer, an accelerometer, and a gyroscope inside of it. And we made a breakout board that breaks out like all the useful pins, and also a Flora breakout, so you can do wearables that have like motion sensing and stuff. So we'll see what people do with this cool sensor. It's also very low cost for the price of what would normally be an accelerometer. You get like 9 degrees, so it's not maybe the most precise or accurate of sensors because they cram everything in. But for most like basic gaming and motion, it's perfectly fine.
Okay, you got this. You got one more.
And then we have a tutorial for the TMP007, which is TI's update to the TMP006. They plus one it. So TMP006++ is the TMP007, and it's a thermopile thermometer. So it allows you to sense remote temperature, so you don't have to touch the thing that you're sensing, which is very neat. And this is they've kind of improved a couple of the things that were iffy about the TMP006. They added all the math management and calculation inside the chip, so the chip itself does all the mathematics for you, because there's a little bit of like logarithmic square rooting, and it's a little annoying. Now it does it all on chip. It also handles deviations of temperature a little bit better. It used to have a lot of overshoot. The overshoot's been dampened quite a bit, so it's a little bit better in that respect.
Okay. And that is all of our different guides for the week. Someone in the chat, I can answer this question. They said, how do I write for the Adafruit learning system? So we just did a big update, and we're adding some authors back. And so if someone has a really great tutorial out there, we find you. That's usually how it works. You can also email us if you have a completed thing. We like to look at the type of documentation, and then we try to open it up. Each one of them is really important. We have to look at it, and we're also working on some new features. So that's generally how we add more folks. One day maybe we can set it up.
But do check out Instructables if you're not, because that's like an open system. We aren't set up right now to be able to handle an open system because we don't have like a moderation team or a support team. It's like me and Phil who had to check over the tutorials. We just don't have that much time all day. Yeah,
and also we have some specific tutorials that we're trying to get out the door.
We do have to support the customers too, so it's one of those things where we have to support our customers first.
That's how that's how it is.
Hopefully one day.
Next Time Travel Tuesday. Every Tuesday we look back in the world of making, hacking, engineering, and more. This week I thought this was kind of fun. This is the anniversary of Bertha Benz.
Well, who's that?
Well, she was the wife of the inventor of the Mercedes-Benz. She drove her this car the furthest, 66 miles. And it was before, I guess, there was cars, and everyone freaked out. And I think it was probably one of the best like marketing campaigns ever. So she drove a car before there was cars. And this was all the way back in 1888.
Okay. So she had a car, and it was 66 miles. So it was actually quite a trip.
Yeah, and it was. You had to, I think she had to stop at like the chemist to get like chemicals to make sure the battery kept working.
Wow.
Like, all sorts of things. Okay. Yeah. Pioneering. Next up, wearables. Okay, we got a few things in the world of wearables. First up, this is that Close Encounters hat that I promised. Here we go. We're gonna show that right away.
Bleep bleep.
Okay, and
bleep bleep.
We also have the all about sensors video.
Okay.
So if you've ever wanted to know about all the sensors you can use with Flora, which is a common question.
There's 6 of them.
Here's all the answers.
Sensors. They're great for bringing interactivity to your wearables projects, and the Flora family of high-tech sewable sensors just keeps growing. They chain together over I²C, so you won't use up all of the pins on your Flora or sew huge amounts of conductive thread. Let's pick out the right Flora sensor for your project. First, let's get things moving. The Flora LSM303 contains an accelerometer, which is great for detecting your dance moves, footsteps, or roller coaster rides. We've used it in the hem of the sparkle skirt and on this wristband to flash some neopixels when you walk or shimmy. The LSM303 board also contains a compass, which you can use to tell which way you're facing. Use it alone to get your cardinal bearings, or in combination with the GPS for navigation, like in the Neo Geo watch or City Bike helmet. If you need even more motion data, the 9 degrees of freedom sensor is the new LSM9DSO, which is a gyroscope as well. Altogether great for sensing orientation and heading in 3D space. Now let's shed some light on the TSL2561 luminosity sensor. It'll read visible light, infrared, or both. Maybe you could make a darkness-activated headlamp or a hat that detects infrared security cameras. If it's a sunburn you're worried about, the SI1145 UV index sensor is perfect for helping you remember to reapply your SPF, like in the Sunscreen Reminder Hat project. This last one is extra fun. You can detect the color of an object with the TCS34725 color sensor. The onboard LED shines onto the object, reflecting light into the sensor for an accurate color reading. Great for matching your accessories to your outfit, like in the chameleon scarf or Flora-brella. Each Adafruit wearable sensor has an Arduino library with sample code to get you started and projects to build on the Adafruit learning system. Tell us what you're building in the comments, and if you have questions, I'll tackle them on our Wearables live show each week right here on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more wearable electronics from Adafruit.
Okay.
Thank you, Becky.
All right, so that's all the sensors.
Okay.
One of the things I like that you did with Flora is you started out with all the things that you thought people might want to do.
Yeah.
Like NeoPixels and GPS and all
Flora
these sensors.
was actually just designed to drive NeoPixels. That's like the NeoPixels came first, and I was like, oh, I have to design something to drive this because it has to have like power, and it has to have the right pins, and it has to be in the right shape. And then I wanted to add sensors because like that's the most fun. Yeah. And instead of having like the wiring be all crazy, I made it so all the sensors they can connect one after the other. Yeah. That's kind of like the
smart.
Well, I was like, I don't like I²C. I don't like I²C, but like Arduino really supports I²C very well, so it makes it okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, so 3D printing. So this is a big show tonight. We got a lot of things going on. So I got some big news, but first, our video from 3D Thursday last week is the Oonts.
Mini Oonts.
Mini Oonts.
Mini 3D printed Oonts.
And meep. So what is the Oonts, Lady Ada? I know it's an open source MIDI controller.
It's an open source MIDI grid controller. Wait. You just gave it away. It's a grid of.
But what is that? Because that means we have people who watch the show that they just like electronics. They don't know any of the like open source or MIDI. They don't even know what those terms are. Why is an open source MIDI thing interesting?
So it's actually made out of these rubber pads. They're rubber elastomer pads, just like you have on like microwaves or like video games or whatever. There's buttons, and they light up from behind, and you can grid them together. So this one is this one over here is a 4x4, but you can make up to 8x16, so like huge grids of these buttons. And then we wrote some Arduino code to light up the LEDs, handle the button presses, and send that data over MIDI, which is a standard music interface protocol. So if people want to build their own music controllers, like if you want to use GarageBand or Maximus P or Pure Data or Ableton or whatever, and you want to have physical interfaces, Oonts is one way to add lots of buttons and twisty knobs and such, and have it all over MIDI. And we had a version that we made in the store that's 8x8, and we have a 16x8. But Noah and Pedro wanted like a little mini one, so they made a 4x4 Oonts. So this is the mini Oonts, and they added some knobs, which is kind of nice. Yeah. And they wrote Arduino code for this as well. So this is a very small, little portable, and you can even make it battery powered MIDI controller.
Okay, and here it is.
In this project, we're building a DIY MIDI controller that works with iOS devices and analog synths. Say hello to Ounce, the open source button grid controller based on the Adafruit trellis. The mini Ounce is a 3D printed case housing 1 trellis and 4 potentiometers that's ideal for a 16-button drum pad. Install the Ounce libraries and program the Arduino Leonardo to make a native USB MIDI controller. Use our demo sketches to get your Ounce up and running. Find out how to build your own by checking out the guide on the Adafruit Learning System. The 16 buttons trigger LEDs and MIDI notes that are mapped to this table in the Arduino demo sketch. The potentiometers are mapped to MIDI CCs like modulation, expression, and a filter cutoff. For a mobile setup, connect it to an iOS device using the Camera Kit USB adapter. To control an analog synth, use your laptop in a MIDI to USB interface. For a massive MIDI controller, check out the Hella Ounce, featuring 128 buttons. Perfect for making a step sequencer or an arpeggiator that's hella hackable. Ounce works with any MIDI software and hardware, so there's no more need for virtual MIDI or serial to MIDI stuff. Ounce is legit USB MIDI. What sensors and features would you add to make your own custom Ounce? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more 3D printed projects from Adafruit.
Okay.
All
Mini MIDI drum controller by the seashore.
Okay. And so our big news, our big announcement is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are starting a new show. The first,
the only, the best.
It'll
Number one.
It's a 3D Thursday hangout, that's what we're calling it. And it's with Matt, Noah, and Pedro. And we are doing this as a hangout.
Yeah.
Down the road, we'll probably have guests, but right now it's Matt and Noah and Pedro beaming in together here.
These are the biggest names in 3D printing.
That's right. And that'll be starting tomorrow. And it's really important to us to have really cool content. And it's not called television, and it's a bad word, like television programming. But I think people will get it when I say, if we have really good, useful, interesting, thoughtful, informative programming on the internet, it can make the internet better.
Yeah.
We have a wearable show, we have a show and tell, we have Ask an Engineer, and now we have the 3D show.
You're making the world you want to see.
That's right. And it's actually, I think, what the community and customers in Adafruit wants to see.
That's true.
Because they really like 3D printing, but there's not a lot of things to see and get inspired by that you could just watch a video about. There's not. You'll see projects, you'll see blog stuff. We have Circuit Playground, we have Collins Lab, and then we have the wearable video that we do, and then we have a 3D video that we do. So we're almost up to 7 days a week of great content that makes you just feel smarter.
And we're always doing something new, which I like. It's always something new and a little bit different. There's never reruns. It's teardowns, or 3D printing your own Game Girl, or making your own Raspberry Pi, Google Glass type thing, or a light up purse, or shoes that react. I mean, it's always something a little bit different, and I kind of like that. It's a nice mix of electronics plus something else.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the thing that's true, and now everything's recorded.
Tell me what's true.
And I can't go back on it.
Oh,
so
boy.
No ads. We don't take advertising.
There's no ads.
So you're never going to see a sponsorship.
No.
That's this brought to you by Tasty Clean. So.
When I'm soldering electronics and I get thirsty, I like a Diet Coke.
Yeah, so we don't do sponsorships, and that's a model. But if you do that, you can't really talk about anything. So one of the cool things about the 3D printing show is it has nothing to do with any specific vendor. We don't make 3D printers.
It's actually totally printer agnostic. Yeah. We like the TAS because it's open source, and we like the PrinterBot because it's a great entry-level printer. But you can actually follow and print these designs with any printer, and the techniques that they're going to talk about are useful for almost any printer too. And
we try to be really agnostic about which printer. It doesn't matter. We like to put the files in lots of places. Some people like the Autodesk thing. Some people like Thingiverse. So it'll be really neat. This is an experiment. We're investing in it. And the other cool thing is the collision of wearables and 3D printing has happened this year too.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have expected it if you asked me a year ago. But NinjaFlex and then 3D printing enclosures for wearables go hand in hand, and you light them up with NeoPixels. Really cool.
Diffuses them. Looks really good.
And people take it out on the street, and people are like, "Hey, how are your shoes glowing? How are you doing that with this thing?"
Yeah.
They want to do more. Okay.
That's great. All right, so tune in tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be a big day.
Every Thursday, it's going to be a weekly show, right?
Yeah.
Every week, Thursday at 3 p.m. at this time, hang out with Matt, Noah, and Pedro. I'm going to watch.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, Pi news. So Pi news is interesting this week. One, of course, a reminder: the Raspberry Pi Model B Plus. Here we have a bunch. We got them. We have a bunch of accessories.
Yes.
But something
we're working on adapting more
something weird happened this week. Something weird happened.
Okay.
The weirdest thing so far.
Yeah.
There is an unknown entry into the Pi compatible world.
Yeah.
And
this is definitely weird.
And we bought one.
And yeah, I bought one because I'm like, this is so weird.
We don't know if they're going to last. So someone got a hold of Broadcom chips, which normally you just can't get a hold of. It's not like, hey, Broadcom, I'd like some chips. No,
yeah,
you can't.
I don't know. This is like they somehow got them third party or something.
Yeah.
And we got this, it's called the Odroid Pi.
Yeah.
And we just got it. We just took some really nice photos of it.
We got it.
It could be handy for
we got it because we're like, is this going to last? Is this for real? And you know what? We booted it up. It came from hardkernel.com. And you're probably wondering, well, what happens if you just put like straight up Raspbian in there?
No, it totally boots.
It just totally boots.
It's like legit. I was actually kind of expecting it to be like not actually a Broadcom chip because sometimes you'll get stuff that's like compatible, but it's like, oh, by compatible I mean it's all Winter 20. But it actually is, and I can also talk about it. I mean, this just shows you this is a micro HDMI and a USB. There's the camera socket for the CSI. It comes with a little add-on.
Overhead, or what do you want?
Yeah, I can go to the overhead and just kind of show this off on the overhead.
Yeah.
I mean, the photos are where it's at, but this is also kind of handy. But there's the Broadcom chip underneath here with the RAM. You can socket a 4 gig card into here.
Yeah, it's like a mini Raspberry Pi, but it's not. It's
totally weird.
It's a compatible that.
And then there's this is a camera slot, and then there's a battery slot. And it can run off of a lithium-ion battery, which is kind of nice. They have like a I guess a buck boost converter or something. I'm not sure exactly. There's a USB host. There's the micro HDMI socket, and then this is the board that's actually like a little mini Raspberry Pi compatible. And then it has all these breakouts for the GPIO. It's like breadboard friendly, which actually is kind of an interesting idea. And then actually, I don't want to tear this off, but this kind of pulls off apparently, and it plugs into this like kind of dock station. And it has like a Pi TFT type screen here, and then it has the LAN 9514 chip, which is the Ethernet plus 4 USB expander, and then I don't know exactly what this port is, and then this is another 5-volt plug in case you want to have external 5-volt, and then like I don't know what this is, another 5-volt.
So we saw this.
It's just interesting. It's just weird.
It made the rounds online, and we said we should just get one real quick because who knows.
I'm like, this may get shut down. This may not work out. They may not be able to get chips. Who knows?
So we got one, and
it's weird.
We'll see. But we took giant.
Booted. I mean, like I was like, oh, this is probably not going to boot. But it did.
We took giant high-res photos, and so you can check it out. Unknown what the Pi folks think about this. The foundation unknown. Maybe.
I mean, I'm not too concerned about like this being an alternative. I mean, it's a lot more difficult to use, and you need all these extras, and it's not less expensive, it's more expensive because of all the it's 2 parts that solder together. But it's just interesting to see, Broadcom wanted the Raspberry Pi to popularize that chipset, and it did.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay,
so that's cool. All right, before we move on to the next segment, the code is Thermophile, 10% off, Adafruit store. Use it tonight by midnight, 10% off. Go on and get it. All right, Lady Ada, it's that time.
Okay.
We got some new products and we'll answer some questions.
Yes,
ready?
Of course.
New products. First up, our weekly segment that we're doing is sort of new, but it's Journey to the Center of the Catalog. This is our weekly segment that we do inside of new products now, where we revisit a really old product that we wanted to take a new photo of. So
should we reshoot the photos
this week?
Look, it's not that I didn't take good photos, but I didn't take good photos. So we should be doing the photos.
Yeah.
More dramatic lighting.
So this is the TV Be Gone, one of the most popular and fun kits to do. Lots of people like to make the TV Be Gone in workshops. Mitch Altman, who was a guest on the show just a couple weeks ago, co-designed the kit with Lady Ada here.
Mm-hmm. This is a great learning to solder kit. It's under $20. It's learn to solder with this kit, and you can turn off TVs from 300 feet away. It's so much fun.
All right, so now on to the real new things.
Okay.
This is a giant battery.
It's not that giant. It's actually a handheld. It's a little pocket battery pack, And we have a couple larger battery packs. We have the 4400 and the 10,000 milliamp hour. This is like a 2200 milliamp hour. But what I like about this is that I actually tested like a large number of these. I have like a box of these guys, and this is the only one that actually had a really good solid 5-volt 1 amp output. Like the other ones drooped or really noisy. This one is like guaranteed 5-volt 1. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's like the real deal. There's all these little slim ones, but if you actually measure the current output, as you get beyond like 300 milliamps, like it starts like dropping really fast. Like you don't get a nice steady 5 volts. This is the Pro model. It's a little more expensive. It's a little bit bigger, but it's way better quality. So this is really good for powering Arduino projects, Raspberry Pi projects, BeagleBone projects. It's rechargeable. I don't know that you can use it as a UPS. I don't suggest it because oftentimes the output flickers when you plug it in to get charged. But it's good for like if you just want to make a portable project.
Yeah. One of the things that, we focus on the positive here at Adafruit, but if you guys could only see the bucket of awful. So to get to the best product, we have to go through a ton, and there's just crummy batteries out there.
I mean, like I gave them away to people like who worked here because I was like, well, it's fine for like charging your iPhone. It's just you wouldn't want to use it with an Arduino or a Pi.
We couldn't sell it, and a lot of people use the stuff for very important things.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the bucket of mistakes are always
bucket of mistakes.
Yeah.
Bucket of giveaways.
Okay, next up.
So one of the benefits of working here is you get the bucket of giveaways.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got B+ stacky headers. Yay! I ordered these as soon as I found out about the Raspberry Pi B+, and now we has them. These are 2x20 super tall sockets. You can see it here plugged into the Raspberry Pi model B+, and the headers are extra tall, so the sockets extend beyond the USB port, so you can have a PCB that's larger, large enough that it covers the entire size of the Pi, and the headers are extra long, so when you have a PCB soldered on, you can also plug something in. So that's kind of nice.
Okay. Next up.
We also have its sister, the extra tall but not stacky header. This one has short little pins.
Yeah.
Good for making like a Pi hat or a Pi plate or shield or whatever. Again, it's extra tall, so the PCB can be taller than the USB, and Ethernet jacks, which is handy if you want an extra tall add-on board. And the pins are not super long, so you don't have to clip them. You can just put a PCB on and solder them in.
Okay, next up.
9DOF. This is the 9 degree of freedom board, the LSM9DS0 for Flora. This little chip has a 3-axis compass, accelerometer, and magnetometer all in one. It doesn't even require that many extra capacitors or resistors. You see them here. It uses I2C, which makes it perfect for Flora. And so we have a breakout for Flora, so you can do all sorts of sensing and motion detection with your wearable. That would be very handy. And great for almost any kind of project. We'll eventually be discontinuing probably the LSM303 just because this one kind of does it all, and it's the chip is super solid. We've got a great library for it.
Okay. Next up.
Oh, we also have the breakout for it, which the photo didn't make it in here, but that's okay. We also have a breakout version of the.
Oh.
Because it's all blue, but I have it here. I can show it on the overhead.
Okay. So instead of being round, black, and sewable,
it's blue and rectangular.
Blue and square and breadboardable.
Here it is. Sorry. Well, I just forgot to send you the photo. But this is the LSM 9DS0. Can I zoom in, or is it on?
Yeah, zoom in. Okay. Go for it.
Sometimes it doesn't auto focus. This is the LSM 9DS0 chip in the center, and we have all the breakouts and 4 mounting holes. So again, this is 9 degrees of freedom, 3-axis accelerometer, magnetometer, and compass. So it's really good for like all sorts of measurements and motion. And it does I2C and SPI. We have level shifting and 3-volt regulator. It plugs into a breadboard very nicely. It's 5-volt safe, so you can use it with Arduino or Raspberry Pi or BeagleBone or whatever. We have a really good library for this and tutorial that we wrote, and we're also porting a motion AHRS system so that you can actually you rotate it and the computer actually knows which way you're pointing. So really cool space age technology, and it's like under $30 now. So it's amazing.
All right. And then finally, what's this thing?
Temp 007, the thermopile, the fabled thermopile. This is the upgrades for the TMP006 sensor from TI. This sensor allows you to measure the temperature of something without touching it. it actually like reads the IR bouncing off an object to do like non-touching temperature sensing. So like, you know, sometimes you'll see like those FLIR cameras. This is like a single point IR camera. And I have this basic demo of it set up that I can show on the overhead.
Let's do this.
What's nice about this sensor compared to the TMP006 is that this version has all the math calculation inside the chip. You used to have to do all this like logarithmic square root craziness. You don't have to do that anymore. You can actually just read the temperature directly from the I2C register. And also it's a little bit better at handling temperature changes. It has a little bit better management of like when, you know, the temperature spikes or drops. You can just handle a little bit better. It used to be like you'd see like overshoots of like 20 degrees and then it would settle. Now it doesn't overshoot much at all. So you can see if I'm not touching it, I'm just putting my hand over it. It can detect that my hand, which is warmer than the air outside, that's about 30 degrees C. And when I move my hand away, it goes back to measuring the ambient air, which is about 21 degrees here. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting sensor. It's like if you want to measure something but without touching, this is like basically the easiest way to do it. And it's pretty low cost. It uses I2C, and you know we have Arduino library tutorial for it, and it's easy to port to any other microcontroller as well.
Okay.
Just as a note, though, it's not the code is not the TMP06 and 007 code is totally different. So it's not a drop-in replacement for the 006. You do have to recompile code. The library is different. You'll have to recompile code and upload it to your microcontroller. They did change the register locations and a couple other things.
Okay. What's the temperature range for that?
Ooh, I don't remember, but it's, you know, it's a little wider than normal because it doesn't have to touch it. I think it can measure up to 200 degrees C.
Okay.
But you have to make sure that the die itself doesn't get hotter than 150.
Okie dokie. And with
but
that,
check the data sheet for the TMP007. I don't recall off the top of my head.
There's a new product. Good work.
Yay.
Okay. If you've seen any of those things and you'd like to buy them, 10% off in the Adafruit store. We do this every week. We do discounts.
Thermopile.
Yeah.
Not just for the thermopile,
yeah.
although also the thermopile.
Smart people pick up 3D printers with
Some
the
people
discount
pick
code.
up 3D printers with the 10% off.
Yeah,
you get
that
free
one.
shipping.
That one kind of hurts us a little bit, but we're doing this.
It's okay.
We're doing it for the long haul.
It's a labor of
We'll
love.
make it up in volume. So volume builds. Okay, so we're gonna do some
cubic volume
questions.
Okay.
I have some questions lined up. You ready, Lady?
Okay, yeah.
Engineering questions. Here you go.
Ask me those questions.
You ready? We're gonna.
I'm ready.
We got a few.
Let's go.
So this one, a couple questions for today's show. Do you sell or know of any load sensor to measure small weights, 0.001 to 0.01 grams? How would they work with Arduino? Also, is there a page chart to compare sensors? Example, are there load motion sensors? It would be great to see resolution, degrees of freedom, all those other things in one place.
We don't have a table because we don't have a lot of, we do have a couple of accelerometers now. Yeah. And you can always get the specs from the data sheet, but there's often specific reasons why somebody wants one or the other. Like they already have code for the ADXL 345, or they want the least expensive one. I mean, I think as we add more, we'll eventually make a table. Pardon me. But right now we don't have one. For measuring very small weights, we don't have a load cell sensor in the store. What I would actually suggest you do is get a scale that has, like a professional scale that's been calibrated, that has serial output. And I actually have a tutorial about that, not for sub-gram scale, but there are most scales nowadays have a serial port output because it doesn't cost much, or USB output. And then you can read that from an Arduino. That's the easiest way to do it because calibrating load cells is a pain.
Okay, next up. Hi, I'm a STEAM teacher in pre-K, third grade school, and I'm trying to integrate STEM into the school. Can the Flora, I guess this is the 9DOF other sensor, be used to calculate angles? I want to hack basketballs with electronics so they can be used to integrate in math, gym angles, rotation, altitude. What would be the best sensor for that?
We do have code that allows you to detect tilt, and like it does output the angles. I don't know how it would fare in a basketball. You know, we only use it with something that's like kind of, we're just rotating it in space. I don't know how it would be with, it doesn't measure altitude. We do have altitude sensors, but indoors, it just, the barometric pressure doesn't adjust enough to do that. But a 9DOF sensor, you know, you can have a 9DOF sensor and then as you tilt it, it's just not gonna be super, super precise. There's always a little bit of error in these 9DOF sensors because they use multiple sensors to calculate the heading. They use like magnetometers and GPS and barometric sensors. So you can use it to measure, but it's just be aware that you're not going to get like degree precision. It's going to be like 10-degree precision.
Okay, next up, Lady Ada, when sending out requests for free samples, components, what do you recommend for newish makers? So what type of components should they?
Get a couple op amps, some 555 timers, microcontrollers and such. Just be aware that it's tough sometimes to get free samples, especially if you don't have a school or work address. If you're young, you may want to ask somebody who has a job with a business address, because they often won't take sample requests from like a Gmail or Hotmail account. You have to have like a company account.
Okay. Next up, when is the new Circuit Playground coming out? Well, that's a very interesting question. E is a music video, so we're skipping that one for now because it's a big production. And F is coming out soon. If you look at the show and tell, there was a preview of F is for frequency, and it's so cute. We have a talking oscilloscope that talks to AdaBot. It is going to freak you guys out.
It's very adorable.
At least I thought it was talking. It looks like it was not. Next up, how do you incorporate 3 or 5 volt tolerant level shifting in the boards?
You can always check out the schematics for the boards in our tutorials. We have the schematic, and usually I have an extremely low dropout regulator so that you can have 3 or 5 volt input and we'll regulate down to 3 volts. I use the MIC 5225, but there's plenty of ultra low dropout regulators you can use. And then for I2C, I usually use the classic Philips NXP I2C level shifting, which works very, very well for I2C. I2C is a little bit weird to level shift. And then for SPI, sometimes I'll use a level shifting chip, like the HC 74HC125 or 4050 or 245, depending on how many pins I have to shift. Or I'll use like a diode resistor to basically make a pull up, pull down basic shifter. Okay, Lady, can you do a little bit of speed round? Yeah. We got a couple more questions. Ready? Next question. What are the holes around the TMP-007 chip for? We followed the data sheet, which has suggestions for you want to isolate the chip because noise and any extra thermal fluctuations at the chip, physically at the chip, will cause measurements to vary. So we basically look at the data sheet for a chip that's sensitive, and we follow their layout suggestions. And this is how they suggested that we do the layout to get the data lines out very far and use vias to get them out. Okay, what's the max distance for the thermopile? Couldn't find it on the data sheet. Actually, there is no max distance. It's a cone. So the farther away it is, the more average it is. So what you want to look at is the cone, which I think is a 45 or 90 degree cone of visibility, because it will just measure ambient. It'll measure anything in the area. It's not like it's measuring like light coming in. So there is no like distance level. It's not bouncing something off. It's just measuring input. Okay. Next up, will we ever carry flux pens? Here's the thing about flux pens, by the way. We did want to carry flux pens, but flux pens have really frustrating shipping restrictions. Oh, right, yeah. And so we don't carry them. And there are some that may not have these restrictions, but the ones that we kind of like do, you can only ship them ground because they're volatile chemicals, even though it's like a pen and it's a small. Yeah. So that's why we don't carry a flux pen. Well, yeah, we do everything right. We ship the batteries the right way. We ship everything the right way. We're held to very high standards here. That's why we don't carry a flux pen. I know about flux pen, and I know about flux liquid. I tend not to use it actually, partially because of that reason, because I didn't want it just dried out, and I'm like, fuck it, like I can get replaced. But that's why we don't carry a flux pen. But we're looking into it. We're looking into it. Okay. And then the other one was, do you think Sugru could be used to waterproof like an Arduino? Ooh, no, I wouldn't suggest it. If you want to waterproof something in Arduino, put it in a waterproof enclosure, and then any holes you Sugru around them. If you have like a cable gland, that's what I suggest. Okay. Because the Sugru can crack. It's not. I wouldn't dunk it underwater. And with that those are the questions. Okay, yay. Okay, trivia question time. Trivia question. All right, what are the rules, Lady Ada? Rules are, if you've won before, from this show. You can't win again. It's okay if you won on Becky's show or 3D Hangouts. You can win one prize from each show, one winner per my lifetime. And if you don't win, you can't complain to us on the phone. The winner gets a TMP-007.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good price?
Yeah,
Good price.
fine
Fair
price.
price.
All right. It's going to be an easy
Handy.
question, too.
Yeah.
Ready? Type it into the Ustream or YouTube chat. Whatever one I see first is the one that is going to get it. I try to alternate. Sometimes there's lag on either ones. Yeah. But what is the name of the company that just open sourced the propeller? This is so easy.
It was the breaking
The name
news.
of the company that open sourced the propeller chip. And the chip that they open source, which I have on this press release, is the P8X32A, the propeller one. It's just open sourced.
P8, the propeller 8-core, 32 kilobyte Web A.
Yeah.
But what was the company name?
The company name.
The company name.
Very easy. So while we're waiting for people to type in the chat, I'm going to remind everyone.
I'm going to measure your temperature.
Yeah, you can measure my temperature. I'm going to remind everybody that...
you are 29?
Yeah, I'm 29.
29 degrees.
Okay, ElectroDog10. Congratulations, ElectroDog10. Email support@adafruit.com.
Parallax
Electro
is the right
Dog.
answer. You even spelled it right.
Yeah. Email support@adafruit.com. You get the TMP007
thermopile.
Yeah. It's like James Bond electronics.
That's right.
Okay. So congratulations. You won. Okay. The answer was parallax.
Bam.
Okay. All right. Well, that is the show tonight. Don't forget, the code is thermopile. It'll be up till midnight. We got show and tell next week. We got Ask an Engineer next week. Tomorrow we have the world premiere.
31.459 degrees.
Okay. You're warmer, see?
Maybe I just held it closer now.
Don't forget, tomorrow, 3 p.m., 3D Thursday Hangout.
Okay, I'm going to watch it, so you guys watch it with me, okay?
We're all watching it. Okay. That's the show for tonight. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all the participants in the show and tell. Thank you, all the Adafruit staff members that are in the chat and helping out. Thank you, all the people here at Adafruit. We're shipping orders, 9 p.m. All the folks that make Adafruit run, thank you so much. And most of all, thank you, all the folks out there who pick up a kit or watch the show or just
3D print something?
Or just 3D print something. It's all good.
Or send us a nice mailbag.
Yeah.
Send us a nice mailbag.
We'll see everybody next week. Here's a picture of a cat. This is MOSFET, not Gerber's. And here's your moment of Zener.